We will turn our attention now to this week's card. Let's start it off. We've got on Thursday night a college football game to get the CFB week started up. It's the Ohio Bobcats taking on the Lafayette Ragin Cajuns. We've got Lafayette here, 20-point home favorites in this game, 56.5 being the total. Entering this Thursday night matchup. It's the only Thursday night college football matchup on the board. Definitely Lafayette, the superior football team here. They have played a couple of games and, not very impressive, I must say, last weekend, escaping with a 27-24 victory over Nicholls State as 26-point favorites. So one of those situations facing an FCS team, and they barely escaped with the victory as almost 4 touchdown favorites. That's still better than what some teams did, a.k.a. Florida State, who were almost 4 touchdown favorites and actually lost the game to Jacksonville State. So the fact that at least Lafayette survived and won is a good thing for them. I don't know if I want to really make too much out of that. They still found the way to win, and they were coming off that game against Texas. They prepped all off-season for it, put a lot of investment physically, mentally into that game against Texas to begin the year where they lost 38-18, didn't play well. Yet they only got outgained by 77 yards in that game. So the game was closer than that 20-point margin would indicate. I think they'll be a lot better here, Lafayette. Lafayette, though, at that same point in time, other than games where they played some really lousy teams, ULM and South Alabama last year in November, they were big favorites, double-digit chalk they covered. Other than that, they had some games in this price range where they were favored by, 2 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns, and they didn't cover. In fact, they weren't good as larger favorites most of last year. You look at some of the Arkansas State 14.5-point favorites, they won by 7. Texas State 17-point favorites, they only won that game by 10. It's not the kind of price range I'm ready to just run up to the betting window and say, hey, let's lay almost 3 touchdowns here with ULL. Even though I like the team, I like Levi Lewis, I like the run game, even though with Elijah Mitchell and Trey Ragas gone, they've still got a solid group there at running back. The O-line is extremely experienced, most of the starters back. The defense is still very good. I think they win, and I think Ohio, it's a rough matchup for them because they have to run the football to be effective, and I don't think they can. And you can't like the way they've started the year at all. I mean, they've looked awful. A 29-9 loss to Syracuse, who aren't very good themselves, and then a 2-point loss as 28.5-point favorites to Duquesne in the FCS ranks, 28-26 over the weekend. Outgained in both games, outgained by 61 yards. By Duquesne. There was nothing fluky. There was nothing fraudulent about either loss to Duquesne or Syracuse. This was a bad team, non-existent offense. The quarterback play from Curtis Rourke hasn't been good. Even the guy Nathan O'Rourke, his older brother who played quarterback at Ohio the last few years, he was never a great pocket passer. It was always the run game and the dual threat, mobile element of his play that got things done. It's looking like more of the same here for Curtis Rourke. It's been underwhelming from him at the quarterback spot to begin the year. I don't trust them to be able to run the football against ULL. ULL's run defense pretty solid. So that's the dilemma that I have in this game. I think matchup-wise, it's a good one for Lafayette. They have the possibility to run away and hide in this game against an Ohio team that's 0-2 straight up, 0-2 against the spread. I'm not convinced they're going to run the football effectively, which means I don't trust their offense to work in this game against Lafayette. But we're also talking about a 20-point favorite and a price range where ULL has struggled to cover these kind of bigger numbers as favorites. So I'd still take Lafayette before I take Ohio because I think Ohio could be in shambles. And I said Solich retiring, new head coach, program in decline in the MAC. I think we're starting to see that here with Ohio. So I lean Lafayette. I don't think I'll be betting it, though, at -120. Could the game stay under? Perhaps. I mean, we're actually seeing the total go up. I'm kind of perplexed by that. It's up to 56.5, but I'd say wait, maybe get interested in the under if this total continues to climb. Conor, Mac, your first thoughts here, Ohio ULL.
Yeah, a lot of stuff. I'm going to wait, too, on that total, just that you brought it up there at the end. A lot of games have gone under for the Ohio non-conference. And the Ragin Cajuns, 16-5-1, the under their last 22 games. So if this keeps going up, I will look at that under. And, yeah, the Raging Cajuns have been horrible as this big number. You were talking about it. I can't. I don't want to lay it with them. Yeah, G Martinez, no Solich too. We had talked about it on early when our college football preview. How we thought Ohio would be down, and they are. They're just not very good. And Duquesne, they lost to Duquesne. Man, it's rough.
Yeah.
I think this could kind of be a blowout, like a road game for the Raging Cajuns, but I don't want to bet it. Like for me, I'm going to look under in this spot, or if this gets higher over 3 touchdowns, I mean, maybe can you hold your nose and take Ohio? I probably won't, but the struggles with the Raging Cajuns covering these numbers is pretty crazy the last few years. So, yeah, that's all I have in this one. I'm going to maybe look on the under. In Ohio, though, they haven't been 0-3 since 2008. This team is heading south.
26-15 in first downs for Duquesne over Ohio in that game this past weekend. 26-15 plus 11 in first downs for Duquesne. So there's nothing fraudulent about that game for Ohio. 28.5-point favorites, and they lose to Duquesne 28-26. So they're and the betting markets have clearly been way off with this team. And that's the thing. When you see a team where the point spread has been way off on them 2 straight games, I am not going to find a reason to bet on them until I'm convinced the betting markets have corrected where this team truly is right now. And they haven't gotten there yet. Their pick'em was Syracuse. They lost that game by 20. They're 28.5-point favorites against Duquesne. They lose that game outright. That tells me that the betting markets and the odds makers have been way off on this team. And until I see the fact that they can cover a number and even be close to covering a number, there's no way I'm endorsing Ohio. And even though I've got my reservations with ULL, if I had to bet the game, it would be the favorite or pass for me. More than anything, like I said, might wait, see if the total continues to climb and lean under if it does. Grant, what are your initial thoughts here with the Bobcats and the Ragin Cajuns?
I thought you guys said everything I need to say on this one. As I look at it initially, you got a team that beats Nicholls State by 3 points or whatever it was. Yeah, they won by 3 points at home, and then you got a team that loses to Duquesne at home. I'm not overthinking it. I'm out. I'm out. And you made a great point on the books adjusting. And that's something I'm really going to try to focus on this season in my football betting is the books adjusting. Ohio, they've been way off on Ohio 2 games in a row to start the season.
Yep.
So are they going to be right here? We don't know. Obviously, they're puzzled as well. The one thing I would think about is the kids at Ohio, I mean, they are human. They just fucking lost to Duquesne at home. So I expect, a little bit of a response there, maybe a first quarter under. I don't know. This game's puzzling to me, the 2 losses, or the loss that Ohio had last week at home, and then Lafayette winning by 3 to Nicholls State. I thought you guys said everything I need to say on it.
Yeah, I mean, when a team has lost to the point spread, the ATS margin in the first 2 games for Ohio is 52.5 points. That means they've lost to the point spread by 52.5 points combined in the first 2 games. When I see teams like this every year, guys, where they are beating the point spread by 40, 50 points the first couple games and they're losing. There's teams like this every year in college football. The team that's crushing the market, crushing the point spread, I am not betting against them at all. I'm either finding a way to bet on them or I'm passing. And the opposite here with Ohio. When you're losing to the point spread by this much, 52.5 points, ATS margin in the first 2 games, I'm not looking to bet on you until you show me something. And you can even compete against the number. And we haven't even seen that here with Ohio yet in these
real quick. Yeah, G Martinez, Nicholls State, great cover team. I use them a lot over the few years, and they've covered the last few weeks. Their team's sneaky, catching points always.
Yeah, that's. I'm going to bring it up here. Kenny White, I religiously follow where his power ratings are. Let me see where he has Nicholls State right now in terms of overall rankings, because I don't think they're terrible. This Nicholls State team. I'm going to find that right now for you here. Let me just do a little find and search because I don't think they're as bad as some people would think for an FCS squad here. Nicholls State. See, he's got Duquesne 193 in the country right now. and you go on down the list here. Let's see if we can find Nickel State 140 in his over. That's the FBS and FCS teams. He puts them all in one big group, essentially, and ranks them all 1 through 300, 400, whatever. FBS and FCS teams combined. And he's got Nickel State 140, and Duquesne down at around 193. So 53-point power rating difference in terms of team positioning between Duquesne at 193, Nickel State at 140. So that tells you Nickel State's the much better football team than Duquesne. So UL Lafayette sliding by Nickel State. If you're going to compare the two recent performances this past weekend, yeah, UL Lafayette beating Nickel State's a hell of a lot better than Ohio losing to Duquesne. So, yeah, to me, this is favored or pass for me. It's just a question of, do I want to lay 20 in this game?